the third quarter. That ramp in production, just for a reminder, right now they're at 42 per month, the same level they were at back in 2016. The plan is to ramp that production up to 57 per month by late 2020. Dennis Muhlenberg's comments during the conference call at 10:30 a.m. this morning, those will be in focus. People want to, hear from him for the first time since being removed as chairman and get a better sense from the tenor and the comments about if they really do feel comfortable with the guidance on the 737 MAX. Finally, guys, as you take a look at the stock over the last month, keep in mind that they are also changing their guidance on the 787 Dreamliner. They're going to bring it down to 12 per month from 14 per month by the end of next year due to concerns that the orders that they expected from China are not coming in. Guys, that's a temporary drop in production. They expect it to last 2 years and then move back up to 14 per month. Back to you.
Hey, Phil, thank you for that. Joining us right now to continue this conversation, CNBC contributor Jeff Sonnenfeld of Yale, of course, and Ron Epstein's back, research analyst at Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Ron, I'm just going to go to you real quick in terms of what these numbers mean, and does it change any of your forecasts?
Yeah, so the things that jump out to us are what Phil mentioned, the 737 return to service.
Right.
We have it returning to service in March. Are we changing that because of what the company said? No. I mean, this is a company that has a history of over-promising and under-delivering, and eventually they'll get it right? So we're not changing our forecast there.
So March is still it for you?
March is still it for me.
And that's because what? Meaning, how do you get to March?
Yeah, how do we get to March? If you look at all the hoops that have to happen, that's how we get there, right? So it's not just the FAA. You have to deal with the FAA, you have to deal with the EASA, you have to deal with Transport Canada, you have to deal with the Brazilian authority. So there's a lot of pieces that have to come together.
How much headline risk is there over the next week for investors? We talked about, is this a low? Are people going to look at this next week when Dennis Muhlenberg is in Washington? Is that just going to be theater? Do you see that as a moment where the stock actually takes an additional dip, or do you think actually that's an opportunity for him to hit it out of the park and somehow the stock moves higher?
My sense is what's going to happen on the Hill, it'll be typical DC theater, right? I mean, that's how it's going to play out, right? I think they did a decent job this quarter ring fencing some of the risks for a while. Investors were worried about 787 production rates. They cut that. Investors were worried about the return to service of the 737. They kind of put that out there. So I think for a little while, the negative catalyst that could happen, they've sort of ring fenced that.
Right.
So, where to from here? Quarter to quarter cash flow, does the return to service slip, that kind of thing.
Jeff, let's talk governance here. They've just effectively pushed Kevin McAllister, who ran the commercial aviation unit, out. They've obviously now split the board or split the chairman and CEO role at the top of the company. How much room does Dennis Muhlenberg have to move next week when he's in front of regulators and policymakers?
I think Dennis has to be clear, concise, and accurate. These are all of his strengths. It's separating the roles. As you know, I never believed that is a governance panacea. Sometimes it makes sense, like when we saw at the New York Stock Exchange when John Thain stepped in at a time of crisis. We had an issue where it was great for restoring public trust. You had a chairman who was a former CEO of Citigroup over him. Vikram Pandit at Citigroup had a similarly somebody parachute in there, Dick Parsons, help run cover, and that was very helpful there. Some of his best days were when he had Dick Parsons with him.
Jeff,
at Raytheon, we saw a great
what's your
coupling.
assessment of this board? Do you believe there's a strong board?
Yeah, I think this is a strong board with incredible bench strength. There are people in there who really know safety, who really know the aviation business. Having David Calhoun there as the new non-executive chairman, I think is an excellent move. Just between us, I kind of wish Calhoun was going with him to Washington next week. A person you just had on who was coming off as very reasonable, Patrick McHenry, that you guys were worshiping as a wonderful, balanced legislator. In fact, made mincemeat out of a genuine heroine, Tim Sloan. There was no daylight of Wells Fargo. There's no daylight between what that kindly seeming Patrick McHenry did to Tim Sloan at Wells Fargo, a genuine hero fixing problems he inherited, and what Elizabeth Warren did to him in the Senate. These people are capable of being ruthless and distracting. There are problems on other fronts at Boeing. The company's been great about disclosing them. The The board's done a great job centralizing a focus on safety. They maybe should have done that even earlier, but unifying it company-wide and having that report into a central engineering function is a great move.
I need to stop you for a moment and just to disagree on one side. You just said they've been great about disclosing things, and I think even the company would tell you that they thought at least the latest disclosure, which came Friday, they said was unfortunate in terms of how it was done and how it was brought to the public. Do you think?
David, Andrew, you think the company did something wrong in that revelation that came up? It was a test pilot from 2012, 2016. Right. Put off some weird instant message that nobody now can figure out. And the company had been trying to get him as soon as they discovered it. Immediately, they went to him. And who'd they hear from? His criminal attorney. So they immediately turned it over to the government, to the Department of Justice. And the Department of Justice did not want the Transportation Department or the FAA to know about it. Why? Because the FAA, like Boeing, is under criminal investigation. So they couldn't fork it over. Why the Justice Department decided not to give it to their peers in the executive branch, that was a government-to-government call. Boeing did nothing wrong there. And we have no idea what this test pilot was even talking about. By the way, it doesn't even work for the company. It works for Southwest.
I'm not going to disagree with the legal analysis that you just suggested. But I will say, by default, there is a public trust issue. And part of that public trust issue is a function of what has felt like a drip, drip, drip in terms of information that has come out.
This is why we saw Kevin McAllister leave. He's, honorable good guy from GE, but just that there's always pulling back the Band-Aid or whatever. There's always somehow trickling of more bad news. The fact that in Chicago, perhaps they didn't know as fast as they did in Seattle that there was some combination of alert equipment that wasn't on an instrument panel that no commercial aviation would ever have on an instrument panel, an angle of attack light, but was coupled with something else, the sensor inconsistency indicator, which maybe should have been on the instrument panel. The fact that information, and it was done by a subcontractor, one of the 900 vendors, Rockwell Collins, made a decision that they figured out in Seattle, and maybe they didn't hear about it fast enough in Chicago, the headquarters. These were issues, the problems with the tanker that filled the 777. There are problems out there, which is the 777 is a long-haul plane. There are some problems. There are cracks in other 737 NGs, not the MAX, but there are some cracks and some wing issues that they're going after. These are things that were backing up in commercial aviation. That the head of commercial aviation now has left the company, Jeff, but it wasn't any overt deception. There's no deceit. Jeff, and when company had bad news about, say, the Dreamliner, some delays, they put that out there right away. I think Ron Nixon just told us that.
Jeff, I want to thank you for your perspective as always. Ron, thank you. We got to get to Jim Cramer, and we will see you soon, both of you.
All right, Jim's down at the New York Stock Exchange. Jim, what do you think about Boeing this morning and Caterpillar?
Well, I'll tell you, absolutely, Boeing did ring fence these issues. I do believe that, like Andrew just said, there are many people who feel, look, the customer's always right, and the customer in this case is either the aircraft companies that want them, in other words, the airlines, or the people who fly. And if the customer's always right, then the company's not done. The company must make more tough decisions because nobody's bigger than the institution. The institution must be preserved. Caterpillar is rather amazing. My Charitable Trust owns it. I told people to get out of it. I can't believe the stock is actually going up when you're flat. This was a terrible quarter. And you got to call it a terrible quarter, and the company's pretty abject about it. You could say, listen, it's not as bad as we thought. But, what is that? I mean, I think the stock should be appreciably lower. Again, it's in my trust. I don't care. I told people, listen, I can't trade, but this one should be down 10. Unless you really feel that we're about to have a trade resolution, because other than the energy business, there really wasn't anything that I can find that's positive. But then again, Deere's not down, and Deere is nothing good to say. Yeah. So there is just a rush to own these stocks that I think is somewhat ill-informed.
Jim, thank you. We're going to hear more from you in just a few minutes, but it's great to see you this morning.
Is that give me liberty or give me death? I thought he was a good guy. He's an eviscerator. Yeah, Sonnenfeld called him the Axeman. I thought he seemed like a patriot to me.
He might have turned on Jeff to go to his conference or something. You never know. I don't know.
Hey, Jim, thank you. We'll see you in just a few minutes. And then tonight on Mad Money, don't miss John Donahoe as he leaves service now for Nike, the CEO of CSX2. We'll be right back.
Right now, the future is being written by people like you. Creative thinkers, tech lovers, problem solvers. Are you going to stand by and watch? Well, show the world what you've got. Join others around the UK on an EY degree apprenticeship in digital and technology. And earn a salary working with exciting businesses while studying towards a degree. Don't let the future pass you by. Get involved. For more information and to apply, search EY Digital Apprentice.
What if your email let you see a project's entire history and not just the messages sent to you? What if everyone else on your team could see it as well? Then it wouldn't be email at all. Move communication from inboxes to channels in Slack. Instead of seeing a partial set of messages about a project, everyone in Slack sees exactly the same thing and moves work forward faster. Slack. Choose a better way to work. Get started at slack.com.
Time is money. Or so money says. Well, money. I know you like to dictate every hour of every day, add to my to-do list and throw the odd spanner in the works. But not anymore. This is my business, and I run it on my watch. I'm in control now, money. And times are changing. Save time with instant business invoicing, now on the Barclays app. Search Barclays Business and make money work for you.
Must have a Barclays business account. T's and C's apply.
At first, we were worried about using purple bricks, but since we sold with them, I haven't been able to stop going on about them, have I, dear?
No, love.
I've been telling everyone. Family, friends, that confused guy at the supermarket.
Yeah, you haven't really shut up about that.
But seriously, did I tell you about our purple bricks estate agent, Michael?
I met him too. He was nice.
We could talk to him whenever. Anything we asked, he could do it.
That's enough now,
He
dear.
was brilliant, always available to chat on the phone.
Enough,
I
Robert.
could email him any time of the day or night.
Purple bricks. You'll be totally sold.
Fixed fee payable on instruction or after 10 months. Viewing services cost extra. See website for more details.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Find out what you need to do to prepare at gov.uk/Brexit.
We've been together 3 years. We both love travel, and luckily we've got the same taste in music. Next year, we're planning a big road trip, and my wife's coming too. It'll be nice. The three of us don't do enough together. We know how much your Mini means to you. That's why Mini Service offers an array of convenient options and allows you to book online anytime at mini.co.uk. Because we love your Mini almost as much as you do. Search Mini Service. Who's in? T's and C's apply, subject to availability, participating retailers only.
Make sure you join us tomorrow. We got to go. Squawk on the Street. It's coming up right now.
Wednesday morning. Welcome to Squawk on the Street. I'm Carl Quintanilla with Jim Cramer, David Faber at the New York Stock Exchange. Pre-market largely looking past these weak results from Cat and Boeing. Shares of both have rebounded from early morning lows. Big day with Zuckerberg back on the hill. Meantime, the future of Brexit remains cloudy. We might have an election before year end. That seems more likely. Yields have come in on growth concerns. 10-year now back below 174. Our roadmap begins with Cat and Boeing. Big earnings misses for two Dow heavyweights. Cat cuts its earnings outlook. Boeing sticking to its timeline for the return of the 737 MAX.
Plus SoftBank's massive rework bailout, the latest deal details, and the golden parachute for founder Adam Neumann.
Plus, as we said, Mark Zuckerberg goes to Washington. The Facebook CEO set for a grilling by House lawmakers later this morning. We're going to start, though, with that pair of Dow components. Boeing erasing some earlier losses despite a big earnings miss. Revenue slightly above consensus. Company still sees the 737 MAX getting back to service in Q4. And then there's Caterpillar, missing with its quarterly results, cutting full-year guide, hurt by weaker demand in China. It's the first decline in quarterly profit since 2016, as they had sales down in every region, which you just talked about.
Yeah, look, my Travel Trust owns it. Does that mean that I'm an idiot? No. I think it does mean that you have to take pause and say, you know what, they continue to buy back stock, which they said it would no longer be episodic. They were in there buying. Cash flow remains really good. I didn't think they could make this much money with this decline in revenues. However, all that said, so what? Got like 400 other companies in the S&P 500 that are doing better than Cat. And Cat has a lot to do with the fact that the world is slowing. And it is our probably most accurate barometer of how the world is slowing, is Caterpillar. So it becomes a tough stock to own. Why won't it go back to 118, 119? I think because there's still a lot of optimism where it was before the last round of trade talks. There's optimism that if you're short this thing and we get a trade deal, you're going to get your face ripped off. But it wasn't good. it just wasn't good. And yes, sure, energy was okay, but it wasn't a good quarter. And I think you have to own that. So not all quarters are equal.
Dovetail with what Texas Instruments said last night, guiding down on the December quarter. Weakness throughout the quarter. Bespoke says this will be the worst earnings reaction for Texans since 2008.
I don't like the read-through of Texan. If you go through the quarter, they're really abject in saying on the conference call, both the IR and the CFO, that look, this is just every single business line we have. But remember, Texas became the default semiconductor to own when we got too concentrated on communications, specifically Apple. I take it with a grain of salt. They became the Internet of Things, automotive, industrial, semiconductor company to own. Not unlike what NXP was doing on semi, microchip. Take a look at last week, bigger company, Taiwan Semi, fabulous numbers, talking about communications being great, 5G. Take a look at what Teradyne said last night, TR, an excellent company, saying that communications, that's a very strong business. I'm saying Texas Instruments bad read-through. I think if you're going to be selling some of these big cap stocks, and here I'm thinking about you want to dump your Qualcomm, you want to sell your Micron, where Teradyne said the DRAMs are strong, you're making a major mistake. Do not read through Texan. Texan, by the way, up more than 30%, stronger than all the other semis. Why? Because it wasn't related that much to cell phone. This is a move out of industrial like CAT and into cell phone communications like Taiwan Semi, like Qualcomm, like, by the way, NVIDIA. Congratulations to Jensen Huang for being named the #1 CEO in HBR, in the Harvard Business Review, yesterday. So I think that you look at Teradyne, and I'd rather take my cue from Teradyne, believe it or not, than Texas Instruments, even though Texas Instruments is a very big company. And I didn't like the call because it seemed like the fault is in the stars, not us. And not only that, can I just tell you that in the April read-through, if you go back to the April 2019 Texas Instruments call, they were so ridiculously gloomy. I mean, give me a break. They are like, hey, listen, we are not seeing good things at all times.
In their 30-year history, though, these down cycles typically are 4 to 5 quarters, and they are 4 quarters into declines.
Well,
so in other words, 4 to 5 quarters of year-over-year declines. They're already 4 quarters in. Now, the depth may be a bit greater due to the trade tensions.
But they were gloomy. I mean, look, David.
But you can't blame them for being gloomy.
I can't blame them for being gloomy, but I also can say that their mosaic of business heavily went toward industrial because they didn't want to be hostage to the Apples of the world. Well, and to yes, the curse word of all, Huawei.
Yeah, I mean, they still talk about having 100,000 customers, 100,000 SKUs.
Yeah.
You don't think it's a good macro play?
No.
You want 200,000
Well,
customers.
I think that they're too gloomy. They're too gloomy, and their business is too weighted toward the broader analog devices like world. So what do you sell off of this? You sell on semiconductor. You can sell microchip. You can sell analog devices. I'm going to sanction all this. I'll even sanction selling NXP. Okay,
on this.
Yeah, on this. But I will not go the broad. You got to sell Micron. And those who sell AMD on this, shame on you. Shame on you. What? Have you no shame, David?
This is not the McCarthy hearing.
It is.
Yes,
it is.
Have you no decency, short seller?
Stu, Senator Symington. Remember, like the Republicans were the conscience of the Senate. Stu Symington.
Really?
Yeah.
Seems like
Stu.
a long time ago.
It's a little off base, but I do think that Micron is the linchpin once again. If Micron holds here, plus or minus $1, bingo.
Really quick,
It's not going to go down.
we didn't really get to Boeing, but
No, we didn't. We
they're
have
trimming
to.
some Dreamliner, pushing back 777. They still think, as we said, 4 quarter on the max. Negative operating cash flow, though, 2.4.
Yeah, where do they say? You know, look, they very true. They did ring fence, and it is interesting to open up the deck, and the first thing you see is, listen, this thing's not going to sink us. My problem is, if it were up to them, yeah, it is so clearly out of their hands that I would like to have seen 2 decks. I'd like to see, presentations. One of if things don't come back, and by the way, if you take a look at United Technologies' fantastic quarter yesterday, if things don't come back and they do stop production, then companies are going to be losing hundreds of millions of dollars a month. So I would have liked to see an either or, but if you're a pure optimist, you never show the or. I mean, it's kind of like, am I asking for them to say, okay, here's the Patriots with Brady, here's what we like without Brady? No, because in this case, at least Belichick has control of Brady. There.
I'm glad we got to football within the 7-minute
David, it's a national pastime. Have you seen the numbers, football? Have you seen the numbers? It means more than ever. Even the fourth quarter matters these days.
It does. It means more than ever, certainly to the networks that carry it and or the ones that might consider carrying it. Those negotiations are going to be
I wish,
in terms of the rights of the NFL.
Dolphins are playing with 10 men, which is
do
really hard. Cleveland's playing with 10 men. Jets play with 10 men, right? I mean, the Jets could play with 15 men. They still couldn't stop that rush. Anyway,
that's really...
Sorry.
The season's over.
How about Lilly being down 3 on that great quarter?
Who?
Lilly.
Yeah.
Versus Biogen, 7 guys raised price targets. Thanks for nothing. Moving on. The guy in my ears just said moving on. I just covered 7 companies. But I got move on. Let me get 9 more companies.
Our dear producer.
He's a good guy in my ear.
Your guy in your ear?
No, I'm not. I don't mean that. He knows I love him.
Let's talk about.
I love you.
Let's talk about WeWork, which does have a public market implication. Certainly, if you're a SoftBank shareholder, it does. The deal was done. Press release out late last night, finally detailing many of the things we've been telling you about now for almost 2 days at this point. SoftBank does take control, or will take control when it's all said and done and everything is closed of WeWork, with, as we were first reported back on Monday early afternoon, an 80% stake in the company. The company's founder, of course, Adam Neumann, will largely be monetized, if you want to call it that, as will any number of other potential shareholders who at least choose to participate in what is going to be a tender offer worth up to $3 billion, again, for all non-SoftBank shareholders. The price there is $19.19 a share. They're going to commence that fairly soon and expect to close it pretty quickly. They're also extending net debt of some almost $5 billion. Now, $1.75 billion of that is a letter of credit, but it's $1.1 billion of senior secured notes, and then $2.2 billion of unsecured notes. By the way, this is a company, I'm told, by people who were involved, obviously, in all of these negotiations. It was going to run out of money by next Friday.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. They were really, I mean, they've got certain cash, but they have hurdles on it that they haven't met, so they were unable to use that cash. So they were going to be running out of actual money they could use to fund their business by next Friday. So the money can't come soon enough for WeWork. The question now is for SoftBank, of course, and its leader, Massa's son, and the man who's now tasked with overseeing it, Marcelo Claret. What do you do? What do you do to make this thing work and reach profitability? SoftBank will have put in, some $13.5 billion, right? The $1.5 billion in accelerated warrants they're going to do now. Add that to the 9+ they've already put in, and another 3 for the tender. I mean, you're getting up there, aren't you? $13.5 billion for an 80% stake in a $8 billion pre the new money. There's not that much new money pre the new money valuation. So 80% of $8 billion for 13.5. The math doesn't look so good. But guys, the question is, what can you do, and how long do you have to do it? Because it's not as though this is not a company that is still burning through a lot of cash. In the press release, Massa's son says he's a firm believer the world is undergoing a massive transformation in the way people work, and that the company is at the forefront of the revolution. He says it's not unusual to experience growth challenges, but the vision remains unchanged.
David, let me just flip it for a second. Had they not bailed them out, will we not be talking about a commercial banking crisis? It's that big.
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so.
Real estate
We'd
crisis?
be talking about a black eye for J.P. Morgan, his personal loans to Mr. Newman, whether he'd because they were backed by his stock, which obviously we'd be talking about. Certainly some questions in terms of space and their leases and in real estate area in New York and other large markets, but I don't think it would have gone to that level.
Okay, that's important because there are a lot of people really scaring the heck out of me if this thing went.
Yeah, and I don't think so. No, I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
All right. Guess we got to move on.
Market's certainly not spooked by today's results. When we come back, as we said earlier, Mark Zuckerberg's on the Hill, testifying in front of House Financial Services. Of course, we'll bring you live coverage all morning long. First, though, musical chairs in the C-suite. Nike, Mark Parker is stepping down as CEO in January. We know Kevin Plank is leaving. Parker will be succeeded by former eBay chief and ServiceNow CEO John Donahoe. Meantime, former SAP chief Bill McDermott has been chosen by ServiceNow as its next CEO, and we're going to talk to Bill after the break. Take a look at futures here, alternating between gains and losses for 8 straight days. We'll get to Chipotle's snap, a Coke upgrade, new street high on Apple in a moment.
Yes, madam.
Hi, can I get a blanket, please? And a pair of those lovely little headphones and another bottle of water.
Madam, the plane has landed.
I know.
Like getting your money's worth? Enjoy the delicious mayo chicken, just 99p from the McDonald's Saver menu. From 10:30am, except in selected restaurants from 11am. Price and participation may vary.
Should we go halves?
I'll get this. Let me just get my card. Which was in my pocket.
You can't control awkward first dates. But if you temporarily misplace your debit card, you can freeze and unfreeze it on our mobile banking app. Feel in control every day. Lloyds Bank, by your side. You can only freeze some transaction types, T's and C's apply.
The B&Q 3 for 2 offer is now on, including an unmissable 3 for 2 on all paint, such as Dulux, Valspar and Farrow & Ball. For this show-stopping deal, hurry to B&Q. You can do it when you're 3 for 2 it. Every third item a single transaction in the send and price order free. Offer ends November 3rd, see DIY.com.
And to say happy birthday, we're giving you a pair of award-winning Silver Galaxy Buds.
But it's not my birthday till June.
No, but it's ours. 10 years ago, we launched our first Galaxy smartphone. And to celebrate, we're giving customers who purchase any Galaxy S10, Note 10 or A90 5G the chance to claim a pair of amazing wireless Galaxy Buds.
Wow, and I didn't get you anything.
Get the latest Samsung Galaxy smartphone now at your local Carphone Warehouse shop or carphonewarehouse.com. Offer available on purchases made by the 23rd of October 2019 and claimed online within 30 days. T&C supply.
Hello? This is Dustin. I found something. Is anybody there?
We hear you, Dustin. With Sky Q, you can easily catch up on epic Netflix shows like Stranger Things and then watch award-winning Sky originals like Chernobyl. Get Sky and Netflix all in one place on Sky Q for one surprisingly low price, just £25 a month. Visit sky.com and join today. Offer ends November 14th. 18-month minimum terms. Prices may change during contract. Requires Sky Q box connected to broadband. Set up from £20. Further terms apply.
Your new neighbour is a musician. His creative peak is at 3 a.m. They're doing roadworks next to your house. Your dog thinks he's a wolf at night. There's always a reason to travel. Fly with Lufthansa's incredible fares around the world. For example, to Bangkok, Shanghai or Singapore. Book now on Lufthansa.com. Conditions apply.
Say yes to the world. Lufthansa.
ServiceNow, symbol NOW, announcing Bill McDermott, the former CEO of SAP, will take the reins of ServiceNow as chief executive. Following John Donahoe's departure to Nike, this is an amazing musical chair story that has a lot of people buzzing. Now, joining us exclusively is Bill McDermott, who is the incoming CEO of one of the best performing stocks around, which is ServiceNow. Hey, Bill, congratulations. ServiceNow on fire. What are you going to be able to do to augment the work that Donahoe did before he goes to Nike?
Well, thank you very much, Jim. You're absolutely right. John has done a great job with ServiceNow. You know, this platform, the way we take care of customers and build trust, there's so much going on in the form of digital transformation, and ServiceNow is at the center of it all. So it's a matter of now, how do we expand? And there's so many ways to do that in the way we care for our customers, the way we expand geographically and in industries around the world. So I'm excited.
Hey, Bill, do you think you'll be able to use your considerable contacts globally from SAP to be able to extend ServiceNow's reach? And would you add, let's say, more verticals than the current ServiceNow? Because ServiceNow, even though it's a terrific company, is still in its infancy when it comes to the enterprise.
You're absolutely right, Jim. We're in the dawn of a new era of software. So for sure, I think the global contacts with heads of state or commissioners of leagues or CEOs around the world, many of them don't know just how pristine the ServiceNow platform is and just how extensible it is to solve IT issues, customer issues, human capital management issues, because we built it on a fully integrated, holistic platform that drives real productivity in the enterprise. And it works so collaboratively with all the other big platforms. So we're kind of the platform of the platforms. And you're absolutely right. On industry, we can add many new industry plays to this formation and really continue to kick this growth into high gear.
Bill, personally, when you wrapped things up at SAP, I said, maybe Bill's going to take it easy. He's a family guy. There's a lot of things in life that you want to do. I never understood you must have 28-hour days. Frank Slootman, who was the ServiceNow guy before him, he slept on a couch in his office. Donahoe hasn't had a moment to breathe. Is this really just in terms of people, is this the right job to once again uproot your family, go and become the worldwide traveler that I thought you might be wanting to get away from?
No, Jim, this is what I do, and this is what I love to do. You know, I'm already moving my family to California. My wife, Julie's all in with me. Kids are excited. I'm totally ready to go. I'm not a guy that wants to make a tea time. I want to go out and meet some CEOs and help transform their businesses. You know, this company was built on the idea of Fred Luddy's vision for tremendously satisfied and loyal customers, and that's what we have here at ServiceNow. We have a fired up team. I'm super excited about our leadership team. The board of directors here, Jim, is so uplifting. Everybody's rowing in one direction. So no matter where I sleep, I know I'm where I belong, leading ServiceNow into the future.
Hey, Bill, it's David Faber. You know, we just mentioned Slootman. Apparently, at Snowflake, he's getting a lot of his old band back together. He's hired now CFO, General Counsel, Chief Marketing Officer, Head of North American Sales. Are you worried that with Donahoe's departure, you're not going to have much of a senior management team left?
Judging from the amount of emails and social media hits I'm getting right now, for people that want to work here, I think we pretty much have our pick of the litter. There's no doubt, David, we have to hire a CFO. And John was very kind. He knew that Bill was coming on, so here I am, and he didn't want to select the next CFO. We have three very serious candidates. I'm meeting with all three of them today, and that decision will be forthcoming very soon. And now you have a CEO in waiting as I complete my tasks at SAP, and John does the same at ServiceNow. We're perfectly good friends, and we're working on a smooth transition. So all the leadership things are handled. We have a pipeline of great folks. Not to worry about the human capital issues. On the contrary, our toughest challenge is picking out the best ones of the hundreds, if not thousands, that want to work here right now.
And Bill, when people look at your career at SAP and the strategy you pursued there, certainly some of it was based on M&A, Sybase, SuccessFactors, Ariba, Concur. Is M&A going to be a more important part of your toolbox, so to speak, at your new employer as you look at the future?
David, as you know, you have to form your strategy based upon the conditions. And when I look at SAP's scenario, we didn't have any cloud revenue in 2002, and now they're well on their way to $20 billion. So M&A was a key concept in getting that company where it needed to be. In this company, we're a pure play, born in the cloud market leader already, growing faster than all the others, and we're doing that organically. And one of the real powerful plays here is the Now platform. So we are a platform company. It's got great extensibility into our applications, and I'm looking at mostly an organic play here. Should we choose to do tuck-ins to complement what our customers need to get us somewhere faster, we'll do that very carefully because our customers love that we have a fully integrated cloud offering, and we will not sacrifice quality for growth. We want both growth, we want margin expansion, and we want quality for our customers so they love us and they stay ever loyal to ServiceNow. Don't forget, we have the highest retention rates in the information technology industry, and we want to keep it that way.
Absolutely, Bill. I know that the preliminary results that came out last night with your announcement were quite extraordinary. You got total revenue up plus 34%. That's great. Non-GAAP total billings up 28%. But let me say this. Last week, Neil Bush, you and I both know, gave what I thought was a rather downbeat worldview. When he was talking at Workday, basically saying, you know what, the world has become a tougher place and it's harder to close deals. What are you hearing about the ability to close deals? And what a lot of companies are saying is, look, suddenly a world war prone to turmoil.
Well, I think the operating environment out there has been stated by some as rougher, but I can only go by what I see at SAP and what I see now at ServiceNow. At SAP, when you have a good brand and you're in a strong market position, you saw the third quarter earnings, the bigger third quarter earnings than ever. And we beat our operating plans by $100 million, and the stock is way up. If you look at ServiceNow, it's kind of steady as you go. As I looked at the pipelines and compared it to the revenue growth against historical norms, the pipelines support the forecast, which supports what just happened in Q3. So this company's very steady. One of the things, Jim, and you know this very well, companies that have kind of a one-dimension focus, whether it's HR or just one thing in CRM, they tend to really feel the headwinds of the global economy when things turn a little tough. This company, like my former company, they have a plethora of things that they can do in the enterprise to satisfy customers. And I think this holistic platform play is going to serve ServiceNow very well, as the platform play served SAP very well also.
But one last thing I just want to point out on a personal basis. We lost a man, Mark Hurd, last week from Oracle. Vicious competitor. One of the reasons why I always loved him, frankly. Can you just say a few words? Because I feel like this stuff happens and it's like we forgot that he ever lived. I think about it every day. So do you. Mark Hurd, what did he mean?
He meant a lot. He really did. He had mega accomplishments in the enterprise. I always respect self-made leaders. Mark was a self-made leader. It was interesting, Jim, when he announced that he was taken off for health reasons. I had a very nice text session with Mark, me to him and him back to me, and it was heartfelt on both sides. And when I woke up one morning and he was gone, I just realized, wow, you know, what a meaningful moment that was for both of us. We competed vigorously in the marketplace against each other, but always had a serious form of professional respect. I feel bad for Mark and Mark's family, and I can only say I'm just honored that I had a chance to know him. I thought Oracle did a great job of saluting his life and his contributions to their company, and I'm sure his wife and family must have been very proud of what he achieved in his professional career. We'll miss Mark, and I'm super proud to call him friend.
I join you and wishing his family the best of all. Well, it's hard to have best of grief, but you and I both know that his family had to deal with a lot here because this was going on for some time. I thank you for the kind words. Bill, thank you for everything you're saying. Please don't miss the other half of this announcement. Incoming Nike CEO John Donahoe later tonight on Mad Money, 6 p.m. How do you I like all these guys. Carl's it wrong to say that? That I like everybody?
Great to see Bill on the air. When we come back, we'll get Kramer's Mad Dash. We'll count down to the opening bell. Take another look at the pre-market. A lot to get to that we haven't watched so far. Also, we're watching Zuckerberg's appearance on the Hill today, House Financial Services, in what's turning out to be an eventful morning for pricing of crypto. We're back in a minute.
Whatever job you're searching for, you can find it on LinkedIn. First jobs, flexible jobs, work from home on a Friday jobs, advertising jobs, accounting jobs, HR, PR, even ER jobs, Soho jobs, Shoreditch jobs. Keep me away from the central line jobs. Banking jobs, building jobs, never ever boring jobs. Small jobs, big jobs, lunch in Borough Market jobs, or even voiceover jobs, which is how I ended up recording this ad. Search millions of jobs on LinkedIn and find one meant for you.
London, switch to Vodafone, the UK's best mobile network, and be unlimited, because the best phones deserve the best network and our new unlimited data plans. The future is exciting. Ready? Vodafone.
Max download speeds apply to unlimited data. Best network as voted by readers of trusted reviews. Terms at vodafone.co.uk/unlimited.
Hearing is an underrated miracle. Intimate whispers, the lushness of symphonies, the soothing patter of rain on leaves. If you had that taken away from you, it would be a massive loss for most of us. Almost all of us go every day without really stopping to think about just how important it is to us.
Audible presents The Body, a guide for occupants, written and read by Bill Bryson, including original bonus material exclusively available at Audible. Listen free as part of your 30-day trial, $7.99 a month after 30 days, renews automatically.
The Peugeot Professional Van range is the beating heart of businesses across the UK. Whether you're on the road with only your DAB radio for company or navigating tight spots with rear parking sensors, all Peugeot Professional Vans give your business that edge. Visit your local Peugeot dealership during our October van event from the 10th to the 31st of October and drive away with an exclusive finance offer. Master the impossible. Peugeot Motor Company PLC is acting as a credit broker, not a lender. Finance subject to status. Terms and conditions apply. Business users and over 18s only. Guarantee may be required. PSA Finance UK Limited.
With the new Halifax Family Boost mortgage, children can get help to buy their first home, and mum and dad earn interest on their savings. Everyone's a winner. The new Halifax Family Boost mortgage. Halifax makes it happen.
Your home and savings could be at risk if mortgage repayments are not maintained. Only available in England and Wales. One applicant must hold a Halifax Reward or Ultimate Reward current account. Conditions and exclusions apply.
right, let's squeeze in a mad dash before we get to the opening bell this morning, which is about 3 minutes away. Norfolk Southern is the feature.
One of the things that has really, I think, kind of confounded people is that the transports have been holding up here in the last few days. We're really in a slowdown. Why would that be? And one of it is because the rails, CSX, pretty good quarter. Union Pacific, really good quarter. Norfolk Southern, not as good quarter. But you know what? They suffer from comparisons. If they had gone first, and they followed two unbelievable quarters. Coal down 13%. Coal, again, is, I think, the stick a fork in it cargo. The operating ratio, which is so important for these rails, not as good as the Precision Rail at CSX or Union Pacific. It's the one to watch because this group has held up a whole group of other stocks. So let's watch this. It might be the key to this market.
Might be the key to this market. I mean, I didn't feel as though, obviously, Lance Fritz, as he always does, joins us in Union Pacific's quarter. I mean, you have to put it in perspective. It was a good quarter based on
the operating ratio.
Right. On the not because, I mean, they are seeing right. It's autos, it's coal, it's energy down.
I know, but the operating ratio here only was 65.4, went down to 64.7. How much the lower the better, so people should understand that. But I think Norfolk Southern is a great railroad, and I think that the rails are a terrific place to be. Again, not unlike CAT. Do we talk about these companies that would be making much less at this point in the economic cycle? But Norfolk Southern's too linked to coal, some people would say, too linked to autos, other people would say. I think that CSX and Union Pacific are doing better.
We don't mention Burlington anymore, but it is a company. It's just owned by Berkshire now. But yeah,
but it's an exciting market because you've got these cargoes. If you look at Norfolk Southern's cargo, the only cargo that was good that surprised was 1% plus auto. Ag is very interesting, +2. You know, if we got a Chinese buy like the Chinese promise, you would see every one of these stocks fly because of the ag lines. But I am yet to see the Chinese place those orders that we thought were going to be so meaningful. The rails will fly if China does something that President Trump wants. Orders.
And if they don't, I mean, it's kind of hard to cheer rail traffic this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
dead money.
I haven't seen a green arrow, I don't know how long.
But they make a lot. This Precision Railroad does make a lot of heads turn because people felt that it was going to be blood out of a stone. It turns out the stone out of a stone is not bad.
Let's get the opening bell here. S&P 500 at the CNBC Real-Time Exchange. At the big board, it's American Express, celebrating the launch of its reinvented corporate card program at the NASDAQ Interactive Brokers Group, provider of automated trade execution.
Boy, talk about companies that are all in the hot sheet. I thought American Express reported a really good quarter. People didn't really like it. Then it started coming back, but then there was reversion out of fintech into ex-fin because of JP Morgan. Interactive Brokers, well, I mean, like Ameritrade, the stock went up after this big decline on the on the no commish. These two stocks are very emblematic of what we're doing right now in the fins, which is that the customer keeps winning. Is that good or bad for the companies?
Yeah, it's going to potentially affect CPI when you financial services.
Great point.
I mean, I was going to ask you, Jim, you mentioned transports, the Russell, banks, or semis. Which of these short-term rebounds that we've seen means the most?
It'll be transports. And that's only because what we're really worried about is, are we want to take this recession issue off the table, and the semis can't do that. They're too worldwide in many, secular issues. The reason why I focus on the transports is because they really are still a great measure of commerce and what's moving. And when you look at all the negative categories that you get right here, right now, when it comes to all these different commodities versus where we were in the first quarter, we're seeing a very big slowing in this country. Very big.
It's amazing. We keep trying to bump against this resistance here on Tran, right?
It's just remarkable. And by the way, the companies that have borne the brunt of this, weirdly, are the companies like ServiceNow. People don't want to be in these software as a service companies, cloud companies. They want to be in the cybersecurity companies. They're looking for industrials. They found Honeywell. Yesterday, they found United Technologies. I swear, honestly, if Caterpillar's up today, then it simply doesn't matter.
I'll give you one stock that goes up, it feels like almost every day.
T-Mobile?
Apple.
Oh, well, David, did you see Katie Huberty's
I did.
ode? This is like the Beethoven's 5th through 9th here.
I don't know what she's smoking, but...
No, this is a good one.
This is 53 pages on the economics and accounting of Apple TV Plus.
I would have told her, pick your best 5. Jeez.
God, can you imagine being an analyst? Like, actually having to write this?
Did you try to read through this?
I did.
I got to the Battle of Borden and I threw it away.
UBS did everybody's coming in with their streaming reports because it's very important. We're 6 days away from Warner, of course, unveiling its service, HBO Max.
Right.
We'll get a price point. We'll understand what new shows they will have.
Right.
A lot of the library, a lot of different things there. I mean, Apple, we kind of know what they've got.
We all keep laughing, right? They're all laughing about how little Apple has. Now, next week we do have that terrific opening for the Good Morning Show.
The morning show.
My wife says, I want to go meet Jennifer Aniston. Apparently she's going to be at the premiere. She says, I have to go to that. I said, you finally watch what I do? She goes, no, I follow her on her blog.
Warner has over 10,000 hours of library.
What? So Apple has $499 price target, David?
No, not a price target, a price.
Price.
Yes.
Oh, price target.
Target's $289.
Price target
is $289. When you buy a device for a year too, which is great.
How about that fella you had yesterday? That big scoop you had. That fella.
Yes, Kevin Mayer. Hans Vesper.
Hans Vesper.
Verizon. Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
It was good.
That was good booking.
Thank you.
Yeah, I try to book Alex Skorsky to take my head off.
Yeah, well, I know. John Donahoe's a good booking too, though. He used to be a friend of mine.
David, I live to steal your people.
Apple's market cap, by the way, is once again the highest in the land. It is above Microsoft.
But she is saying that this Apple Plus is meaningful. Now, this is the first time I've heard anyone say it could be meaningful.
She's saying boosting services revenue by 2 points in fiscal 20, and on average, 1 point to EPS.
I mean, you're talking about a mobile expansion that's not unlike what happened to Procter & Gamble over the last 8 months.
Listen, they're spending a couple $1 billion. I mean, just to put it in perspective, Netflix will spend, over 14?
Right.
CBS Viacom spends 13 on content billion. Warner is up in that range. Amazon spends over 7 or 8.
Amazon's expensive.
Did you know that there's a contingent within Amazon that says, at least that I hear, tells Bezos, just fold it up, get rid of. We spend $7+ billion on content. Do you think anybody wouldn't take Prime if we got rid of movies?
Well, maybe that's what you do as a sop to the AOC contingent.
And then suddenly we'd have $7 billion.
Remember the people who felt it was really good for the working person to not have Amazon go to Queens?
Yes.
Well, maybe we give them the Amazon Prime video. Do you know that would have been the greatest thing that ever happened in New York? I swear to God.
Other than coming back at me,
how much did we bought the? How much did they pay? What did they pay the Indians? It
would have been the greatest single economic development thing that New York.
But no, we don't want that because the people who the Congress people who were in charge of it would have been very bad.
It will be something that lives on.
Jobs are bad if they're from Bezos.
The history of our city is perhaps one of the worst things that happened. A failure of leadership, failure on Amazon's part to a certain extent as well, to sort of not.
But I only bring it up because that's something you could
leadership and AOC. But that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about here.
Nothing at all.
What would happen if Amazon actually said, all right, no more movies. You know what? We're shutting it down. We're selling it off. Somebody else is going to buy all this stuff, whatever, and we have $7 billion. Are you going to stop getting Prime?
No, I love Prime.
Right, because you still like the deliveries.
Are you kidding? I love it. I mean, I just ordered Sensodyne. I get 3 every month.
It's an interesting thought. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. But I do think it's important to point out that until Huberty's piece this morning, the Axe Morgan Stanley, I had said, all right, well, how much is this going to cost him? I had never heard anyone say buy it, in part because of Apple.
She says the street view is that it's going to be more capital intensive, low probability of generating a positive return. That's not her view.
The only people who can't make money on TV, it seems, are Viacom, CBS.
Ouch.
What? Either way, you see that one moving up?
That was mean.
What, really? You want to see mean? Stick with me.
They make money.
They do?
Yes, they just.
I guess we don't take it.
There's questions about their ability to continue to actually make more money.
I thought that I Love Lucy. Don't used to be a guy come on talk about I Love Lucy.
Yes,
I don't know.
His name was Leslie Moonves. I did ask him once about it because
Jesus, David.
It did. You're allowed to say his name.
No, you're not. It's one of the. Do you remember George Carlin? The 7 words.
Yes, 7.
Well, you had that words. Partner.
Jim, let's rip through. Snap down 3.5. Narrower than expected loss. ARPU was ahead. Revenue ahead. DAU's up 3 quarters in a row, but. Tepid outlook is the read.
Oh, buy it. Now listen to me. Listen to me and listen good, David. Snap has an unbelievable. Did you guys read the hold that they have? They have 90% of the 13 to 24-year-olds are on Snap, and you're going to sell that stock here? 90%. That's that hard to reach demographic that doesn't seem to want to do anything other than what you tell them on Snap.
It's true. If I were the Russians and I want to win an election, I would stop entirely with this Facebook stuff. I would go right on Snap.
Yeah.
See, I have it. I didn't even put it on here because one of my, I guess it's
I have it.
there.
I have it.
I'm not. I don't belong to it. I
do you think those? I remember when I asked Preet Bharara whether insider traders use Snap.
I remember that too.
Right?
Yeah,
it was good.
No, that was a good question.
Thank you,
Preet, who now competes with us
and has a really good podcast.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Hey, his book is good. I just put the book.
Is it?
Yeah, his book is good.
Got a nice podcast.
Chipotle's down 2.
Oh, that's not.
Comps up 11. Digital up 88. Digital's now almost 20% of the business.
This stuff is crazy. I mean, listen to me. They did 11% comp, of which, by the way, 7.5 of it was traffic. They have 7 million people that just joined in their customer, in their loyalty program since March. They can triple that easily. They've got this Chipotle where they do much more business when they have a drive-through. Selling this stock down 40, that is dumb as wood. I meant nothing about Louisiana Pacific. I didn't mean
comps are going to get hard.
But the carne asada itself is it's going to hurt. The progression. September was good. October was great. And how about this? Did you see that oh my God, look at this. Did you see they sourced avocado from Peru? They're no longer hostage to Mexico? David, that's major.
There's Mark Zuckerberg going through security on his way to House Financial Services, where he'll face questioning on Libra. Hard to get a read on his testimony. He does say, according to some, that his statement will say, "We know we're not the best messenger for this right now."
Yeah, that's the best line in the whole thing. Yeah. I would have emphasized more about empowerment. When I look at some of the things he's got to say, listen, this is about empowering not just the wealthy to be able to bank on by cell phone. The poor people are all use paper worldwide. I think he's coming with an empowerment message, which is very positive. But at the same time, the long knives are out. I think there's going to be a lot of self-flagellation, which is the correct approach to take. I'm not saying that it's ever a positive. Remember when Jamie Dimon came before Congress during the heyday of the greatness of meeting assassinate bankers? I think the long knives are out for him. I think he's going to acquit himself much better than people realize.
Okay.
Yeah.
You seen what Bitcoin's doing this morning? Back down below the 200K.
Look, if you want transparency and you affect Bitcoin, and you think that Bitcoin is run by organized crime, by OG, organized crime, OCG, organized crime,
original gangster.
No, it's you have to watch Line of Duty. I mean, you have Amazon Prime, by the way, but that's from Acorn. He's going to be able to say empowerment. He's going to be able to say transparency, and they're going to be just saying, "We hate you, Facebook." I think he prevails in the end. It's a kinder, gentler Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know if you've noticed his pronouncements of late. He went, what?
I'm listening to you. Go, continue.
Did you not see that? Kinder, gentler Mark Zuckerberg?
I have.
What do you think of it?
I'm still assessing.
Assessing?
Yes. I think like a lot of people.
Well, you don't like the sweater? You want the hoodie?
What happened to the hoodie?
Because he's become more of a TJ Maxx buyer.
Right. Well, he's in his mid-30s now, isn't he? How old is Mark?
What does that have to do with where you buy your clothes?
Well, you don't wear a hoodie as much when you're not in your 20s.
That's a good point. Do you see that ServiceNow, the whole Splunk ServiceNow cohort's doing, Splunk's up big. I've been waiting for that. Intuit downgraded yesterday. That's coming back. People keep asking me, is there going to be a bottom in the Salesforces and in the Adobes? Well, today is the day. It has to bottom or else.
You were talking about Snap. I know you were already.
I'm a devotee.
Obviously, in light of Facebook and Instagram, it's worth coming back to. Why is the stock down 3%? Was there a lot of guys just short it going into the quarter?
It did run.
Over 50% in terms of sales and acceleration.
Because the market's stupid.
Sales growth.
The market's stupid. Look, they do have some costs, obviously, but the people are throwing it away. Maybe they didn't read through the conference call because they have the same memory as a Snap. Okay? They got the Mayfly. You ever see how long the Mayfly remembers things? That's the people who own Snap. Go read into the back. Finish the conference call. It's good. It's good conference call.
JP Morgan did take it to overweight. $20 target. They see positive EBITDA in Q4. So
I agree with them. And don't you have Evan Spiegel on Monday
with Julia Borston.
I fought for that interview. I had no luck whatsoever.
Tough to get, but I think Julia's got the edge on Evan.
Yeah, it's L.A. too.
Can't win them all,
man.
Can't win them all. I was willing to fly out there.
It's Chinatown.
Forget it, Jim.
Forget about it, Jim.
Sister mother.
We mentioned Nike, the longtime CEO, Mark Parker, stepping down. He will be replaced by the CEO of ServiceNow, John Donahoe. Parker spoke exclusively with Closing Bell yesterday and elaborated on that move.
We've spent a lot of time over many months working on succession planning. So this is not something that happens in a matter of weeks. So it's really unrelated to Oregon Project or any other issues. This is really about me and the board really wanting to make build on the momentum that we've got, add the horsepower, accelerate against our strategy, and do it while I'm here and really in a position to lean in and make this as successful as possible.
Of course, Donahoe's been on the board. Mark's going to stay executive chair here. Did talk about how he wants to work with him for a while.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a really smooth transition. Big shoes to fill. 10-year total shareholder return, Mark Parker, 569%. But interesting, 5 years, 125%. Donahoe at ServiceNow, 5-year, 225%. So you could argue, listen, it's just tough at Nike to lose Parker. He's a visionary. But Donahoe's no slouch. Donna's the real deal.
No, he is the real deal. I first met him, obviously, during the fight with Carl Icahn over eBay, where he said no, then he said yes, and they split the companies, which has created a lot of value. He's still chairman of PayPal, by the way, too.
Wow, PayPal.
Which reports tonight.
A lot of people are thinking, is PayPal going to make a move? There was a cancellation meeting. Not everyone's talking of PayPal, but we're going to see what happens. A merger with PayPal and someone big in the payment space cannot be overlooked. Obviously, I would prefer to be Square.
Big in and of itself.
I prefer to be Square, but that's probably
Square is much
my short
PayPal.
list. It's my short list.
That's your short.
My short list. My investment banking short list.
Got it.
Every day I make a lot of calls to try to get those deals done. You
are instrumental in the workings of the financial system overall.
Completely, but we got to move
in all areas.
Dave, we got to move
in all areas.
For a moment there, Boeing and Cat were actually leading the Dow.
That's crazy.
For now, Boeing is. Let's get to Bob Bassani. Bob?
Well, we're about a quarter of the way through earnings season. More than 100 stocks in the S&P have already reported, Carl. Let me just show you what's going on with the sectors, because the earnings stories are very much impacting the sectors today. So look, semis down a lot, and that's primarily because of what we're seeing with Texas Instruments. We're talking about a company with a $110 billion market cap. That big, it's going to move the indexes it's in. It's down about 9%. That's influenced. Their transport's influenced a little bit by Norfolk Southern, a bit below expectations. Consumer discretionary, well, we had a little bit of weakness in Whirlpool in Latin America. We had some other issues going on with them. Under Armour, Chipotle, also on the weak side. Banks, industrials flat, and I think that's very interesting. Now, we've had three very notable outliers, real disappointments for the earnings season so far. FedEx, McDonald's, Caterpillar. Is there something really big going on here, or are they sector specific? FedEx, I think, is sector specific or company specific. McDonald's may be sector specific. There was a lot of chicken wars going on at the time of their reporting, could account for the lower than expected U.S. same-store sales. Caterpillar, I don't think you have that excuse. This is clearly the poster child for global growth, and they clearly indicated that in their numbers. So, here's the question. Why are we only down fractionally? That's what everybody's trying to figure out. So these numbers don't look very good on the surface. Here's the three big subsectors of Caterpillar. Mining down 12%, construction down 7%. Energy, you could say, well, that's at least not that bad, only down 2%, but these are pretty notable numbers on the downside overall. I think the question now is, does the stock reflect those low expectations and to the earnings? And I think that they do, and I think that explains why we're not moving that much on Caterpillar. So the company specifically told us what the problem is. They said we're seeing reductions in inventories and we're seeing end user demand flat, and they anticipate this will continue into 2020. So let's just take the company's word at it. Inventories are continuing to be reduced and end user demand is going to be flat going into 2020. What's going on with the company, with the stock this year? Earnings are only up 4%. That's better than some companies, but not anywhere near spectacular. Revenues are essentially flat on the year. And where's the stock gone? It's way, way underperformed the S&P 500, which is up 17, 18%. So the company's performance is reflected in its stock price and its earnings and revenues. Here I want to just show you something. This is a chart going back 7-8 years now on Caterpillar. At one point this year, we were at 115 or so. We were back at levels back in 2012. This is 2012 right here for Caterpillar. So you see the stocks jumped all over the place. And this year it's gone up and down with every twist of the tariff wars. My point is that Caterpillar is essentially going sideways. This big spurt here on the tax cuts last year. I don't think it's outperforming in any particular way, and I think that's indicating of the company, and that's why we're seeing flat here. My point is, going into 2020, you may see this company, as long as you've got a paradigm where you're going to get flat growth or 1 to 2% GDP growth, maybe a modest amount of fiscal stimulus in Europe, and maybe just a truce on the China wars, you may have the stock going flat. Guys, back to you.
All right, Bob, thanks. Good insight given what Kat said earlier today. Right. As we mentioned earlier, Zuckerberg's getting ready to testify on Capitol Hill. We saw him go through security a moment ago, and Elon Mui actually got caught on camera for a second. Morning, Elon.
Good morning, Carl. Well, we did see Mark Zuckerberg walk down this hallway here as he prepares for his testimony. He didn't answer any of the questions we tried to ask him, though, including whether users can still trust Facebook and whether the platform is safe. However, he will be facing a long day of testimony, and I can tell you that hearing room is going to be full. Both members of the media and the public have been lined up for hours in order to get into this hearing. They even had to open up an overflow room because there is such intense interest amongst the public and also intense scrutiny of this company from lawmakers. So we will see if Zuckerberg's attempts to build relationships with lawmakers over the past few weeks will pay off when he faces them in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much. We'll keep an eye on that. Meantime, Jim, $29.99. It's 3K is like a magnet over these last few sessions.
Really, a lot of this is, CNN poll. Biden leading over 2020 Democratic rivals. I think it just on fell percentage.
Biggest lead since April
and
on that poll.
There's a
for
whole,
Biden.
so that's healthcare, which is a gigantic part of the S&P. Healthcare just gets ignited. So you'll have an Anthem, which is obviously worth very little under a regime from Sanders, right, or for Warren.
Yes.
Well, suddenly you want to buy that stock with the same set of numbers you want to sell it. This is the most important thing that's happening in stocks, which is Biden coming back. No one thought that.
Warren way behind on moderates. That's way behind.
So that's the you buy. Look, you guys buy Humana. I mean, you buy the worst of the best.
All right, guys. Make sure to check out our podcast, by the way. Listen to the opening bell hour of Squawk on the Street at CNBC.com.
If David does not appear on the podcast, he's just making faces.
Or wherever you listen to them. 60 points to start this Wednesday. Don't go anywhere.
B&Q 3-for-2 offer is now on, including an unmissable 3-for-2 on all paint, such as Dulux, Valspar and Farrow & Ball. For this show-stopping deal, hurry to B&Q. You can do it when you're 3-for-2 it. Every third item a single transaction in the send-in price order free. Offer ends November 3rd. See DIY.com.
Hey, you. We didn't make Nature Valley Crunchy bars so you could just sit and scoff them in front of the TV. Not when you could be enjoying them outdoors. Up here! Race it to the top! With 100% whole grain oats and delicious honey. Nature Valley Crunchy. Get out more.
And to say happy birthday, we're giving you a pair of award-winning Silver Galaxy Buds.
But it's not my birthday till June.
No, but it's ours. 10 years ago, we launched our first Galaxy smartphone. And to celebrate, we're giving customers who purchase any Galaxy S10, Note 10 or A90 5G the chance to claim a pair of amazing wireless Galaxy Buds.
Wow, and I didn't get you anything.
Get the latest Samsung Galaxy smartphone now at your local EE shop or ee.co.uk. Offer available on purchases made by the 23rd of October 2019 and claimed online within 30 days. T&C supply.
Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations. You'll also get live commercial-free news, plus live play-by-play games from NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
From the TuneIn Studios, I'm Fonseca with your daily sports update. Reminding you, we've got NBA action today. We've got the Cavs at the Magic, and then we got the Pistons at the Pacers. Also, the Bulls at the Hornets. This is day 2 of the NBA. All this kicks off 7 p.m. Eastern. If you want to catch the NBA, find games, search NBA. Simple and easy. And make sure to set up reminders so you never miss a moment and you're always knowing when the game's going to start. That way, just click it on your phone and listen at your TuneIn Sports Update.
And that's driven deep to left center field. Gardner is going back. Looking up. See you later.
The excitement of the Fall Classic is here, and you can hear every call of the 2019 World Series on TuneIn Premium. The action continues tonight with Game 2 between the NL champion Washington Nationals and Houston Astros of the American League. Listen live at 8 Eastern as two of Major League Baseball's most storied franchises look to bring home the World Series title. The 2019 World Series is on TuneIn Premium.
Stuck in traffic during the big game? With TuneIn Premium, you can listen to your favorite NFL team on the go. No TV required. Even during rush hour, you won't miss a single touchdown. Listen to the NFL on TuneIn Premium today.
Big day for Facebook and its efforts behind Libra. As Mark Zuckerberg's in front of House Financial Services and Chair Waters, we're going to give you live coverage beginning at the top of the hour. Dow's up 55. Stop Trading with Jim is next.
There's golf. Hi, this is Brian Weber, host of NFL First and Goal every Sunday, kicking off at 1 Eastern only on TuneIn Premium. Be sure to listen this Sunday for the ultimate football fan experience, featuring 7 hours of commercial-free coverage of every scoring play around the NFL.
In the dictionary, a podcast is this: a digital audio file made available on the internet, typically as a series, of which new installments can be received by subscribers automatically. But on TuneIn, a podcast is this.
I'm Rachel Martin with David Green, and this is Up First from NPR News.
And it's defined like this.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
From news, sports, to pop culture, comedy, and beyond. Define your own podcast possibilities on TuneIn.
Get social with TuneIn. Follow TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest and greatest audio happenings across the app. Explore exclusive content.
It's called Indie.
Learn about the hottest new podcasts.
The Nostalgia Mixtape, a new podcast hosted by yours truly, Savannah Shroudi.
And get alerted when the big game's about to begin.
This Sunday is Championship Sunday, when we'll find out which two teams are going to play for the Lombardi Trophy.
Add TuneIn to your feed and be in the know when it matters most.
Want to know what's happening in right now? The latest headlines are just a tap away with Fox News Talk on TuneIn. When news breaks, get up-to-the-minute coverage on developing stories from around the world. Plus, hear all the Fox shows you watch on your TV. Listen to Fox News Talk around the clock on TuneIn.
TuneIn puts you on the sideline for the 2019 college football season free all year long. With college football on TuneIn, hear the home and away call for more than 140 schools live, regular season matchups and rivalry games, conference championships and bowl games, the college football playoff.
Throw it. He's got it in stiff arm. End zone. Touchdown.
You can listen to it all for free at home, on campus, or on the road. Hear the excitement and pageantry of college football all season long, free on TuneIn.
You can have a couple more.
Thank you. More candy?
CNBC Evolve, November 19th in Los Angeles. Insights from the biggest names in business. How today's companies innovate and evolve in an age of disruption. Register now for November 19th at cnbcevents.com/evolve.
Hi, I'm Joe Namath. If you're on Medicare, this is important information. This year, Medicare Advantage plans are allowed to include several benefits to help make your life easier. I called the Medicare Coverage Helpline, and they instantly looked up my coverage. The agent noticed there was coverage in my area that includes many benefits to make my life easier. But I didn't have the new benefits yet. In this one simple call, they offered to enroll me in a plan that includes rides to medical appointments, private home aides, doctors and nurses' visits by telephone, and even home-delivered meals. The plan also includes dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost. Get what you deserve. Call the number on your screen now. It's free.
Call 1-800-548-2837. That's 1-800-548-2837 now.
Time for Kramer and Stop Trading.
Okay, there's a quiet bull market going on in devices, medical devices, whether it be Thermo Fisher, okay, whether it be Danaher, or the star of this period was this Boston Scientific. And be aware that there's a great division between the drug companies, look at Lilly, and these companies. The devices are very much the way to go. Intuitive Surgical, one of the best quarters. It's reacted. Very big goal between a device company these days and a drug company. And devices are favored. The politicians don't care about devices.
What's on Mad tonight, Jim?
Well, I said the rails are important. Now, some of that was because I was looking at Norfolk Southern. Some of it's big tease for my show, David. Jim Foote from CSX. How do you like that booking?
It's precision railroading,
precision
right there.
And then John Donahoe, obviously the subject of much of the news. And John Donahoe, can I just say, because Mark Parker is going to be moving on, Mark Parker, I've learned more from Mark Parker than any CEO about how a company runs because he's so transparent in his conference calls. And it wouldn't be so bad if he would answer my email once in 4 years.
Yeah, the conference call are what you get. He doesn't do a lot of extracurricular.
There's no more to Parker than that.
Jim, we'll see you tonight. Busy day. When we come back, as we said, Mark Zuckerberg on Capitol Hill. His testimony begins in a few moments with the Dow of 50.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive. And make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Hearing is an underrated miracle. Intimate whispers, the lushness of symphonies, the soothing patter of rain on leaves. If you had that taken away from you, it would be a massive loss for most of us. Almost all of us go every day without really stopping to think about just how important it is to us.
Audible presents The Body, a guide for occupants, written and read by Bill Bryson, including original bonus material exclusively available at Audible. Listen free as part of your 30-day trial, $7.99 a month after 30 days, renews automatically.
Do you remember picking out your engagement ring in the jeweller's window? Or choosing your first home? Or deciding the names of your children? When it comes to the important choices in life, you've always taken the greatest care. So shouldn't the same go for which firm of funeral directors you use? After all, that's an important choice too. At Dignity Funeral Directors, we're like you. We also take the greatest care. Our name is your assurance we'll be there by your side every step of the way. Just look for the sign that says Dignity. It's on all our branches and on the Dignity website. Dignity Funeral Directors, taking the greatest care.
Live pictures of Capitol Hill, where in just a few moments, Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg will testify before the House Financial Services Committee on the company's cryptocurrency plans. We're going to take you there live as soon as that begins. In the meantime, good Wednesday morning. Welcome back to Squawk on the Street. I'm Carl Quintanilla with David Faber, Leslie Picker, who's in for Sarah Eisen at Post 9 of the New York Stock Exchange. Market's hanging in there despite some negative news out of CAT and Boeing and Texas Instruments. A lot of those shares rebounding as we've alternated between gains and losses for the past 8 days.
But first, let's go straight to our own Yolande Nui on Capitol Hill with the latest on today's hearing. Yolande.
Well, Leslie, as Carl mentioned, we are expecting Mark Zuckerberg to begin testifying in just a few minutes. Before he does, we will hear opening statements from the chairwoman of the committee, Maxine Waters, as well as the ranking Republican, Patrick McHenry. And ostensibly, this hearing is supposed to be about Libra and about housing. But we know, of course, that lawmakers will have a range of questions for Zuckerberg, including one that investors want to pay attention to, which is antitrust. We saw the stock take a hit yesterday when the news broke that 47 attorneys generals are now part of New York's antitrust investigation into the company. How will Mark Zuckerberg respond to that? That is still an open question. Now, in his written testimony, Zuckerberg struck a humble tone. One lawmaker who met with him one-on-one before the hearing told me that he was receptive to the ideas and suggestions that lawmakers had. So this is really an opportunity for Zuckerberg to show that Facebook can change and to try to convince lawmakers that it can be a force for good. On the lawmaker side, this is a chance for them to show that they understand Facebook's business model and that they are aware of the challenges and benefits the platform presents and that it can be smart about trying to regulate the company. Guys?
Elon, how do you expect today's testimony to compare to the last time he sat before Congress back in April of 2018?
I think this time lawmakers have done their homework. They tend to ask detailed, substantive questions on, as I mentioned, not just Libra and housing, but also on things like election interference and political ads and antitrust as well. I think some of those themes will dominate the hearing. I think that Zuckerberg has also learned a lot. He's put in a lot of time ahead of this meeting, meeting one-on-one with lawmakers, hearing from them, understanding their concerns, and that type of connection goes a long way to diffusing tension on Capitol Hill.
All right, Elon, thanks. We're going to get closer and closer to this testimony and Q&A. And as we await the opening statement and the Q&A, let's bring in Roger McNamee, early Facebook investor, co-founder of Elevation Partners, author of the book Zucked. Roger, it's good to see you. I'll quote from the statement here. First few paragraphs. The financial industry is stagnant. There's no digital financial architecture to support the innovation we need. Goes on to say that I understand we're not the ideal messenger right now. What do you make of how at least he's framing this in the early going?
Well, I give him credit for self-awareness. They are clearly not the correct messenger. Carl, I think the fundamental issue that we have to face here is that sovereign nations, whether it's the United States or any other country, really derive their legitimacy from control of legitimate means of force like military and police, and from their control of currency. That's really where their power comes from. And so the notion of a corporation creating a reserve currency that would compete with the dollar or the euro is really contrary to the system of governance that we have around the world today. And in my mind, it isn't appropriate. I'm all in favor of having a stable crypto, but I want it to be inside the monetary system that we have now as opposed to a corporate thing on the outside. So it's not just Facebook I oppose. I don't want to see any corporation doing this because I think eventually this leads to a lot of financial transactions moving outside the financial system, so outside of taxation, outside of any kind of regulatory control, and in the end, that'll be harmful.
What do you think his appearance today, Roger, says about Libra being a priority for him and this company?
Well, I mean, Carl, to my mind, the fact that they're persisting on it, given all of the blowback that they've gotten, says exactly what you just said, which is that he believes that this is the next big thing. And I totally get why that would be true. If you think about the business model they've created, which is on advertising for the most part, clearly there's a lot of pressure going against the surveillance capitalism business model. And at some point, it's going to exert drag. Now, if he can move into a cryptocurrency that is, in fact, a reserve currency, the scale of that's likely to be wildly bigger than the scale of his ad business. And it's likely to be immensely profitable. And it will be outside of the current regulatory framework, which from his point of view would be a fantastic outcome. And for all of those reasons, we shouldn't let it happen.
Roger, when you think about a currency, our willingness to give somebody a piece of paper and their willingness to accept it, trust obviously is everything. Yeah. Is there just a complete lack of self-awareness on the part of this company in terms of how they're viewed?
Yeah, David, I don't know what it is, to be honest with you, because, they believe so fervently in their mission, and they believe that their mission justifies any means necessary to get there. I mean, they've said that out loud in the context of murders on Facebook Live. They said it out loud in the context of Myanmar and other things. And so they obviously have a fixation on their own business plan and a willingness to disregard all other factors, including common sense. And so I don't want to pretend I know what's going on inside their head, but I'm personally mystified. And what I hope happens here is that the first person who interviews them puts a bullet in the head of Libra, says, NFW, and then they move on to talking about any one of the 150 other things that Congress should be dealing with respect to Mark Zuckerberg today.
Roger, Zuckerberg in his prepared testimony talks about the risks of not innovating namely that China is moving quickly to launch something similar in the coming months. Do you believe that that is a real threat? Is the Libra story one about American dominance of the financial system, or is it about something else that pertains to Facebook?
To be clear, when American companies, internet platforms talk about competing with China, the piece they don't mention is that what China's doing is massive behavioral manipulation. Clearly, Facebook and Google do a lot of behavioral manipulation today, and they aspire to have the level of freedom that China has to implement behavioral manipulation on its population. And clearly, China's effort to integrate a cryptocurrency into the social credit fabric is going to do exactly that. It will have massive surveillance and data gathering capability and the ability to manipulate the behavior of that population. And if I were Facebook or Google, of course I would rather have that than operating under, heavy regulation from government. But we as a country should look at behavioral manipulation and say, wait a minute, that's totally un-American. We shouldn't allow that in any area, certainly not in currency, but we shouldn't allow it for internet platforms in the first place. And their underlying business model, surveillance capitalism, is entirely driven by that basic outcome, this notion that you want to control people's behavior with data. And in my mind, that's un-American, and we should just not allow it.
John Ford joins us on set as well, add his voice to what we might hear later on today. He does go on to say, we'll hear him in a second here, that people are concerned we're moving too fast. His view is they're being very deliberate with the white paper and this long window into Libra.
Well, I feel obliged to at least try to take the other side from Roger on some of the points here. I think fundamentally Mark Zuckerberg is right. The financial system has not moved ahead on currency and digitizing it the way it should. I think there's a question on how Facebook and others should do this. They could do a stable coin. It could be pegged to local currencies, including the dollar, and they could bring more modern banking capabilities to a lot more people. But at the same time, Facebook, as we know, doesn't have a great track record of really thinking through the downsides of digitizing things. And when it comes to money, the potential havoc that could be wreaked if you get this wrong, I think is just exponentially higher even than with information. So it's interesting to me that Zuckerberg is taking this sort of apologetic tone coming in. And I think in his interview with Lester Holt, he kind of set this up where he said it's more important to be understood than to be liked. He seemed to have argued in the past that everybody should like Facebook. Now maybe he's arguing more for understanding, and we'll see if that causes a different tone, maybe less defensive and more, oh, we'll think about that when he gets in front of these lawmakers.
Yeah, I think to your point, the downsides here are tremendous, if not thought through, in its entirety. What I want to understand is what exactly is the upside for Facebook if this goes through, especially given, as Roger was mentioning, all the blowback that they've received in the last few weeks. Why are they still pushing forward with something like this? Why is he, sitting through even more, a full day testimony with Congress? What's in it for them? Exactly.
I think what's in it for them in developed markets like the U.S. is what's called attribution in the ad world. It's hard to know exactly which advertising leads to a purchase, but if Facebook controls a wallet that has your currency in it and they show you an ad and they know when you open your wallet, even if they don't know exactly what you spend, they could say, well, we showed an ad, they opened their wallet, and you got a sale, and therefore we can attribute this, and that really helps the process for them. But then more broadly, in emerging markets and places where Facebook Messenger is a platform that they're trying to grow, where WhatsApp is already strong, if they can bring commerce in new ways to people who aren't banked in the traditional way, if they can control at least a piece of the currency action, if not Libra itself, Calibra, the wallet, that's a powerful thing that they could do.
Hey, well, John, there's one more